One day, you realize you have spent decades saying sorry for things that never deserved an apology. Not for mistakes, not for harm caused, but for simply existing the way you exist, needing rest, saying no, taking up space. And the terrifying part is that most of us do not even notice we are doing it anymore. It has become as automatic as breathing. I am Danny. I am 84 years old, and I have watched two very different kinds of people move through their 60s, 70s, and 80s. One kind shrinks. They get quieter every year. They apologize before they speak, apologize after they speak, and sometimes apologize just for being in the room. The other kind, and I mean this, they seem to grow. Not louder, not more difficult, but more settled, more themselves. And the difference between those two groups does not begin with health or money or family. It begins with whether or not they learn to stop saying sorry for things that were never wrong in the first place. In this video, I want to walk you through 7 things that people who age with dignity, people I have watched, people I have lived beside, and honestly, things I had to fight to learn myself, have quietly stopped apologizing for. These are not dramatic changes. They are small, quiet decisions, but they protect something enormous. They protect who you still are. Here is what most people do not understand. The apologies that damage us most in later life do not feel dangerous. They feel polite. They feel like kindness. You say sorry for needing a nap and it sounds like manners. You say sorry for not wanting to eat at a loud restaurant, and it sounds like you are being considerate. But slowly, and this is the part that costs you, every unnecessary apology tells your brain that your needs are a burden. And a brain that believes it is a burden begins to disappear into the background. Quietly, without announcement. Before we get into habit 1, if your independence, your right to be fully yourself after 60, matters to you, please take a moment and like this video, because every person who watches this and feels seen deserves to know they are not alone in this. And that small click tells me to keep making videos like this one. 1. People who age with dignity stop apologizing for needing rest. My friend Walter was 71 when his daughter visited him one Sunday afternoon and found him sitting in his armchair with the curtains drawn, doing absolutely nothing. Not sleeping, just sitting. She stood in the doorway and said, "Dad, are you okay?" And Walter, this strong, proud man who had worked 40 years in a steel warehouse, sat up straight and said, "I'm sorry, I was just being lazy." I heard that story and I felt it in my chest, because I had said the same thing. Different words, same shame. Researchers now understand that rest, real, unproductive rest, is not laziness. It is when the brain consolidates memory, repairs emotional stress, and resets the nervous system. But emotionally, it does something even deeper. It tells your body that you are worth protecting. Walter started calling his afternoon quiet time his hour. Not a nap, not laziness, his hour. The shame slowly left. Every day you rest without apology is a day you are protecting your mind and your dignity. Every day you apologize for it, you are quietly teaching yourself that you do not deserve either. 2. People who age well stop apologizing for saying no. Eleanor was 67, and she had not said no to her extended family in 11 years. Every holiday at her house, every favor asked, granted, every phone call answered no matter the hour. Her neighbor noticed it first. She told me Eleanor looked thinner every time she saw her, and not from eating less. "She looks like she is disappearing," the neighbor said. The science here is simple. Chronic people-pleasing at any age raises cortisol, the body's stress hormone. In older adults, chronically elevated cortisol is directly linked to faster memory decline. But what it costs emotionally is even plainer than that. Every time you say yes when you mean no, A small piece of your honest self goes somewhere you cannot find it. Eleanor started small. She stopped answering her phone after 8 o'clock at night. Nobody left the family. Nobody stopped loving her. She told me 6 months later that she felt like she had come back from somewhere far away. Say no once today to something that asks too much of you. That is the whole lesson. 3. People who age well stop apologizing for eating what works for their body. George was 75 when his son started making gentle comments at dinner about what was on his plate. Too much salt, too much bread. And George, who had cooked for himself without complaint for 15 years, began apologizing at his own table. I know, I shouldn't. I know, you're right. One evening, his grandson looked up and said, "Grandpa, why do you always say sorry when you eat?" Children notice things we have stopped seeing. Your body at 70 is not the same body it was at 40. What gives you energy? What sits well? What brings you simple pleasure at a meal? You have earned the right to know that and honor it without explanation. Apologizing for feeding yourself the way your body needs is not humility. It is a quiet erosion of self-trust. Trust your body. It has carried you a long way. If you are still with me, please subscribe to this channel, because the next things I want to share may help you protect something most people do not realize they are losing until it is already gone. Your sense of self, your sense of worth. Subscribe so you do not miss it. 4. People who age with dignity stop apologizing for moving slowly. I will make this one personal. I had a fall 4 years ago. Nothing broke, but something in my confidence did. I started rushing. Rushing through parking lots, rushing upstairs, rushing to keep up with younger people ahead of me so I would not feel like I was in the way. My doctor looked at my chart one afternoon and said, "Danny, you are creating the fall you are trying to prevent." Rushing is one of the leading causes of falls in adults over 65. But more than that, the moment you start apologizing for your pace, you start living at someone else's rhythm instead of your own. Slow down without apology. The people worth waiting for will wait. 5. People who age well stop apologizing for talking about the past. Margaret was 78, and she had started prefacing every story with, "I know I've told this before, but..." or "Sorry, I'm just an old woman who remembers too much." Her granddaughter finally took her hand one afternoon and said, "Grandma, I love your stories. Stop apologizing for them. Your memories are not repetitive noise. They are the lived record of a human life." Research on what is now called narrative identity shows that the ability to tell the story of your own life, to make sense of it, to share it, is one of the strongest predictors of emotional well-being in older adults. Your past is not a burden on the room. It is wisdom the room may not know it needs yet. 6. People who age with dignity stop apologizing for their emotions. I cried at a hardware store once, standing in the lumber aisle, looking at a particular kind of wood grain, remembering building a treehouse with my son 40 years ago. A young employee asked if I was all right, and my first instinct was to say, "Sorry, I'm just being a foolish old man." I did not say it. I said, "I'm remembering something good." And I stood there another minute and let myself feel it. Emotions in later life are not weakness. They are the natural result of having loved deeply and lost honestly over many decades. Every time you apologize for feeling something real, you teach yourself that your inner life is inappropriate. It is not. It is evidence of a life fully lived. 7. People who age well stop apologizing for needing people. This one is the hardest, because somewhere along the way, many of us decided that needing others was a sign of failure. Independence meant needing no one. And so we stopped asking, stopped calling, stopped admitting the quiet loneliness that settles in after 70 like cold air under a door. A neighbor of mine, Raymond, 80 years old, had not asked anyone for help in 6 years. His son called one winter to check in, and Raymond said everything was fine. It was not fine. He had been eating cold soup from a can for 3 days because his stove had stopped working, and he was ashamed to ask for help with something so simple. Researchers studying loneliness now know it is as damaging to the body as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. But the emotional truth is simpler. We were made for each other. Needing someone is not weakness. It is what kept us alive for thousands of years. Ask for what you need. Let someone help you. That is not dependency. That is wisdom. What I have shared with you today, resting without shame, saying no without guilt, eating without apology, moving at your own pace, telling your stories, feeling your feelings, and letting yourself need people. None of these are dramatic. And that is exactly why most people never notice how much they cost until they are already gone. You have lived long enough to deserve your own life, not an apologetic, shrunken version of it, the full, honest, unhurried version. Subscribe and turn on notifications because the next video may help you protect something else most people quietly give away after 60 and never realize how much they miss it. I'm Danny, and I'll see you in the next video.